Yep, let's do it.
All right, so our next movie that we're going to be doing is Blackberry. Blackberry is the story of people who.
A cell
Oh,
phone and
let me cut that down a little bit. So it is a story about the world's very first smartphone. Did you ever have a BlackBerry?
No, I never did. I had a razor.
A razor. Okay. So you have this movie is directed by Matt Johnson. Apparently, Matt Johnson, he's a big time director in Canada. This is a Canadian film, and he's a big time director over there. This is the first time I'm seeing anything from him, and he's also in the movie. He plays a character named Doug. Doug, who's in this movie, he's a engineer working with Jay Baruchel's character, Mike. Him and a group of other team of engineers come together to kind of work on this phone and design it because this is it being in 1996. It's all about like the age of the internet. And one of the big things that a lot of people are trying to figure out is how do we combine a phone and then also a computer with emails? Like, how do we get a phone and emails kind of come together into one device and where people can call, they can text, they can email all on kind of one device? That was kind of like the big thing. And you see that because Glenn Howerton's character, who plays Jim Ballsy, who Glenn Howerton in this, people might know he was Dennis Reynolds. He plays Dennis Reynolds in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And he's great in the movie. There's plenty of times in this movie where he's yelling, which it's Dennis Reynolds. I mean, that's basically what it is. I mean, every time he just yells and screams, it's basically just like Dennis Reynolds. Not say he's bad or anything. It's just kind of funny, and it kind of works in the movie because it's like it's kind of a dark comedy in a sense. This movie, and I thought he was kind of very, very fantastic in that. But there's a scene where his character Jim Ballsy, he goes into a meeting with Verizon and the heads of Verizon. And he ends up working with Mike and Doug and the rest of the engineers. Like, he basically comes in and says, "Hey, listen, you give me a percentage of the company and I'll work with you if you make me co-CEO of it. And, because you suck at selling this thing." Like, they're trying to pitch him the idea, and they're like, you suck at this. You need somebody who's good at the business. You're good at the tech. I'm good at the business. Let me handle this. So he goes into a meeting with Verizon, and the heads of Verizon, he's like, he's trying to pitch this like it's like this brand new idea of like, what if we combine phone and email? And then they just laugh in his face because they're like, yeah, we've been trying to work on that forever. The issue is with the phone of doing that, we can't put it on all these different towers, because it just uses too much, and we can't do that. So he comes in, Mike's character, who's Jay Baruchel, who I actually really like Jay Baruchel in this. And this is the least I've seen Jay Baruchel be Jay Baruchel.
Jay Baruchel, yeah.
Yeah, this is the least I've ever seen him play, I guess, because what he's known for is, like, he was, like, Hiccup in How to Train Your Dragon. He plays very, like, kind of very nerdy,
very nasally,
nerdy, very kind of like that kind of thing. And here it's very similar, but I would say it's much more toned down than I've seen him in other things. Like when he's in something like How to Train Your Dragon, where he's Hiccup, or when he's in something like This Is the End, which was that big like comedy movie that he did. Like he's very, very much, I think, toned down here than I think I've seen him in other things, and I think it works for that because he plays the real like big genius in this, Mike, who is the one that's really the head of these other engineers working on it, and he's the one that cracked it. He's the one that figured out how to put these different phones on all these different towers, and they'd be able to kind of combine both those things. And so the movie, is a journey about how this BlackBerry dominated the market from 1996 on, because the movie takes place all the way up until 2008, of how it just dominated the market, and everybody wanted a BlackBerry. It was the hot new thing. And I thought I really kind of appreciated looking at a story like this. Again, with a lot of movies based on, true stories, it's like, how much of this is true? How much of it, did happen? Of course, you got to suspend disbelief on that. Probably 90% of it probably didn't happen the way it says it does in the movie, but I think it is very entertaining and is very good. And kind of seeing all this. Dust, let me get your opinion on it.
Yeah. I thought everybody was good in the position they did. I actually really enjoyed Jay Baruchel's performance as Mike Lazaridis. I really appreciate it. Even from the very beginning of the movie, you just see him kind of getting annoyed by this signal and an intercom, and he's like, I can fix that. And you just right away you can tell what kind of a character he is right from their interactions between him and his best friend Douglas Friggin, which is played by Matt Johnson. And they have this really good chemistry between them as like people who've known each other for like ever. And so they have very good like communication between us like this and helping each other out and doing this. So you definitely can tell that they've worked as a team for as like a dynamic duo for all this. And while Mike may be the like the brains of the operation, Douglas definitely is like the heart and center of like making things comfortable and making things like actually usable from a person to why they would actually want to use something like this, not just from the technology sense. And when Jim Balseel gets involved, played by Glenn Howerton, he really does add this like businessman kind of get out of my way. I like I'll do whatever it takes to get what I want mentality. And while that does work, like someone like this, when you kind of bring the devil in a deal, eventually they get hungrier and hungrier. And you just kind of see that just kind of spiral as you thought was once a boon to help your business grow. He has his own intentions, and as well as Mike does slowly as he gets more and more engineers to work with him as he like and it's just really interesting to see this like how the BlackBerry and this device that was like a pager and a phone and all this in text together all in one, and for them to actually crack that code for it and see how while they were chasing other things they let other competitions start to grow, which would later unfortunately undo them, like such as Apple with Steve Jobs and later the iPhone.
Yeah. Because in this story, I mean, you have your kind of one of my, complaints, even though it's not a major complaint about it, is it's the, you do see
Sure.
like your rise and fall type stories where you see characters come from humble beginnings, then as they grow, you start to see how kind of more the more the power, the more the money kind of maybe corrupts them. And you kind of see that a little bit with Mike's character, with the Mike character, where you see him kind of like, he's starting to wear better suits now. You know what I mean? His hair is different. He's starting,
Right.
he's starting to neglect his friends. Like Doug, who, by the way, the Doug character, the movie, like I said, takes place from 1996 to 2008, so 12 years. You see, advance in time. He doesn't look any different. Like you notice, like he's got the same look. He's wearing the same clothes. And the character Doug, he's somebody that makes tons of pop culture references. He's like his shirt is always a pop culture reference. Like he's wearing Doom shirt. He's wearing an Army of Darkness shirt. He's wearing a Wolfenstein shirt. And these people, like when you see the team of engineers and the scene where Glenn Howerton's character Jim Ballsy, he walks in, he's like, man, he doesn't say it, but you can tell he's thinking it in his head. He's like, Jesus, what a bunch of fucking nerds! Like, holy fuck,
Yeah, it is.
These dudes just sitting around, playing these different computer games. They're on Star Trek message boards. It's like, man, you know what I mean? Like these fucking nerds, and it's like you could tell why they needed a guy like him because he's just gonna come in and just push the door. He's a guy that you would love to have on your side, not somebody you would love to go against. You were about to say something?
Right. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's ironic that like the potential these people, the guys that are working with Douglas, they're what's going to create the future. But yeah, you did need someone like Jim who just can come in and just streamline this and like get out of the message boards and actually get to work. Damn it!
Yeah.
This is what we're gonna do, and this is how we're gonna do it, and this is how we're gonna market it, and this is how it's gonna go.
Yeah. And because their original name for it, he even tells them you got to change the name, get a new name. It was like Pocket Line, I think was the name that they originally had for the
Pocket Link.
Pocket Link that they originally had for. He's like, yeah, that's a stupid ass name. Got to get a new name for that one. So yeah, I mean, he's a guy that needed to be there because without him, they wouldn't have probably made it as far as they did without him. But like you said, having a guy like that, that comes with its downsides and upsides there. So yeah, I mean, Rating Immaturity said that Jay Baruchel has always had one of those nails on a chalkboard voices. Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's much more toned down here though, because when you hear Jay Baruchel, he sounds like a stereotype of a nerd. Like when you do an impression of a nerd that you would like be in something, it's like that's the voice that Jay Baruchel has. But here, I like I said, I think he's very much toned down here and does a really great performance here. I think everybody really does a great job here. Glenn Howerton, Matt Johnson is Doug. Even though I think he's one of the more kind of big comical characters in here. I don't know if that's how Doug was in real life, but he's kind of much more of a comical relief here. Carrie Elways makes an appearance in this. Princess and the Bride. He shows up. He does a very good job as another like asshole businessman. He's from Palm Pilot, which was a direct competitor of BlackBerry. And then there's a nice kind of like business fuck you basically that kind of goes on between BlackBerry and Palm Pilot that happens, which I did like. I thought that was kind of really fun. Michael Ironside also shows up in this, who kind of comes in. So you got some nice good character actors that kind of make an appearance in this. I very much, really enjoyed this movie. I think it's one of my favorite movies of the year so far. Maybe it'll be in my list at the end of the year is over. We'll see. But yeah, like the direction of it, like the performance of it. The direction of it is really cool too, because it's almost like this documentary style of filmmaking look of it, where you'll see kind of a lot of like zoom ins for like reactions and everything like that. Like it has very much of that documentarian feel to it in it, even though it's not a documentary, which I thought that was kind of very interesting. And I think it's looking up about the director Matt Johnson, his other movies, he'll do stuff where he'll go out and shoot a movie and he'll get like actual like real people's reactions to put in the movie, people that aren't a part of it at all, to get more of a genuine feel of it. And here, I think it kind of works with this, having this. I mean, like you said, I mean, the downfall of something like BlackBerry, I mean, not to spoil the movie, but I mean, do you see any more Blackberries around? When's the last time you ever heard about a Blackberry? I mean, if you're even below the age of 24, do you even know what a Blackberry is? You know what I mean? Like they're not around anymore, and they just got outpaced and they got bettered by a better piece of technology. And then 2007, Steve Jobs announced the iPhone, and it changed. It was revolutionary. It changed everything, and it just blew BlackBerry out the water. And there you go. So. Yeah, I would give this movie a, You know what? I'm going to introduce our first rating that we haven't done before, because, tune in, we have that. And I think a tune in is good, and we have a high and strong tune in. But I think that's more like matinee territory for tune in.
Yeah.
And then I would say a rating that's going to be above that, but below This Is Cinema, which is This Is Cinema is our highest rating. I'm going to give it peak. It is peak, which means very good to great, that BlackBerry is. So I'm going to introduce that rating for BlackBerry. Dusk, what about you?
Well, if we're going to ceremoniously introduce a new rating, I can think of no better movie at this current time to introduce it to a unanimous peak as BlackBerry. I had a lot of fun watching this movie. I enjoyed the banter between everybody. I enjoyed the acting. I thought the cinematography and the period piece of many different things in this movie were very well done and researched. Everything from like the pop culture stuff, which is fairly simple, to even like the fashion, the kind of cars, the kind of environment, the tones of the walls. Everything was paid well attention to. Even just smaller things like companies, some of them that don't even exist anymore, or even as they exist as they are, like Bell Atlantic, U.S. Robotics, things like that. That you're like, a lot of people are like, what's Bell Atlantic? That's a whole other story, and it's just stuff like that I find really fascinating about it. And just seeing this even as it's just kind of a fictionalized story, I think it just hits all the right beats to do a good job of just telling this kind of a story and just doing it fairly well. And funny enough, I actually did the little research afterwards. Some of the crazier stuff that I thought, no, that couldn't happen. No, that actually did happen in real life. And I was like, oh, well, okay. Like Balls' constant desire to buy that hockey team and bring it to Ontario. No, he tried it at least 3 or 4 times. That was like a major passion of his. That wasn't just like a one-off joke. And his competition with Carl Yanofsky played Carl Evers. That's legit. That's real too. So even the strangest stuff is sometimes stranger than fiction. So yeah, with that said, I really enjoyed it. I think this is peak. I think this is a strong tune in that has turned into a peak.
Nice. So 2 peaks for Blackberry.